Some people are poor because they have no money. Others are poor because they have no kindness. This is the story of a man who had everything except a heart willing to care. He ignored the cries of his neighbors. He turned away even his own family. But the one who changed his life was not a priest, a friend, or a wealthy ma. It was a tiny dog he barely noticed. What happened next left an entire town in tears. In a small countryside town lived a wealthy man named Victor Hale. Everyone knew him as the greediest man anyone had ever met. Victor owned the largest farm, the biggest house, and the most land in town. Yet despite his wealth, people avoided him. Whenever someone asked for help, his answer was always the same: no. He refused to help anyone, neighbors, relatives, even his own sister when her son desperately needed treatment. Everyone should solve their own problems, he said. As years passed, his greed and loneliness grew. One rainy afternoon, Victor found a tiny stray dog shivering beside his barn. Dirty, thin, and weak, the dog earned only a look of disgust from Victor. "Useless creature," he muttered. He almost chased it away, but allowed the dog to stay as a guard. He named him Lucky. Not because he cared, but because he thought the dog was lucky he wasn't thrown out. To Victor, Lucky was just an animal. To Lucky, Victor was family. Though Victor rarely showed affection, Lucky remained loyal. Over the years, the little dog became beloved throughout the town for bringing comfort to those in need. People often joked that the dog had a bigger heart than his owner. Victor hated hearing that. "He's just a dog," he would say, though the words secretly bothered him. One winter night, a violent storm flooded the town, trapping families and forcing people to flee for their lives. Victor locked himself inside his mansion, ignoring the desperate cries for help outside. Then Lucky suddenly began barking non-stop. The dog ran toward the flooded streets. Victor ignored him. But Lucky returned and barked even harder. Then he grabbed Victor's sleeve and pulled. Annoyed, Victor followed. What he saw changed everything. An elderly woman had fallen into the floodwaters. Without hesitation, Lucky jumped into the rushing water. The tiny dog fought the current, guiding rescuers and refusing to leave. Victor stood frozen. The little animal he considered worthless was risking his life for a stranger. For the first time in years, Victor felt ashamed. While a dog fought to save lives, he had spent his life protecting only himself. That night, Victor joined the rescue efforts, helping families reach safety. The townspeople could hardly believe it. Victor Hale was helping others. But the flood became stronger. Suddenly, a loud cry echoed through the darkness. A young girl was trapped on a collapsing bridge. Before anyone could react, Lucky ran toward her. The bridge gave way. The current swallowed them both. Victor sprinted forward. Without thinking. Without caring about danger. For the first time in his life, he cared about someone more than himself. He jumped into the freezing water. Moments later, rescuers pulled Victor and the little girl to safety. But Lucky was gone. After searching all night, the town found him at sunrise. The tiny dog lay peacefully beside a riverbank. He had saved the girl's life, but lost his own. Victor collapsed beside him. Tears streamed down his face. The hardest man in town cried like a child. The funeral for Lucky became the largest gathering the town had ever seen. Hundreds came, not for a wealthy man or politician, but for a small dog whose heart had touched everyone. Standing before the crowd, Victor spoke through tears. I spent my life believing kindness was weakness. He looked at Lucky's grave. But this little dog showed me what true strength really is. From that day forward, Victor became a different man. He spent the rest of his life helping those in need, funding education, supporting poor families, and rebuilding lives after disasters. The people who once feared him now loved him. Even as he grew old, Victor never forgot Lucky and often visited his grave with flowers. One evening, Victor sat by the grave as the sun disappeared beyond the hills. Knowing his time was near, he smiled softly and whispered, "You saved more than that little girl, my friend. You saved me." The next morning, townspeople found Victor peacefully gone. Beside Lucky's grave, a smile still resting on his face. The man who once had everything but kindness had finally become rich in the one thing that truly mattered. And he carried that kindness with him until his final breath. Sometimes the greatest teachers are not the richest, strongest, or smartest people. Sometimes they come in the form of a small animal with a heart big enough to change a life. True wealth is not measured by what we keep, but by what we give to others. If a small act of kindness could change someone's entire life, what act of kindness would you do today?